You still have some energy? All right, that's good. My point of view today is actually then to share reflections as it was stated in the program. And my reflections come from a little bit different point of view because I'm not the service designer, I'm not the designer, I'm a bank manager and who just happened to be thrilled about service design, and I'm also doing research on service design. So what I tried to then, when Taina contacted me and asked to join here, so what I've been trying to do is kind of get you a holistic picture of actually then what made a big impression on me when I was attending the conference. Haven't been, of course, participating in the workshop, so this is pretty much based on the lectures. But thinking about key takeaways, I found there 4 very relevant things when you think about the whole program that was offered. And I think one of the biggest topics was that made me thinking that are we all well equipped to design our own future? And there were several presentations over there that were handling this issue. Super interesting. A second one, do we see colliding approaches or strong capability building? When we think about, I come from Nordea, it's a huge company, so this is super important, at least for us, that are we really then competing with different approaches, or how could we find a way to work together? Third one is also very relevant, how good we actually are in delivering innovations. And implementation is really a key. What does that mean in a business context? Are we really then delivering stuff? And the fourth topic is how might we enhance creative leadership? Because I think this is also something which is very badly needed in the companies in today's world. So these are the 4 topics I will try to share with you. And I have tried to connect then different presenters from the conference so that you are able to then later go and have a look from the Service Design Network site. There are the slide kits, at least most of them. And also today came a notice that there are also videos available. So just some tips for you. So the first theme, design our future. There was a nice quote on some presenters' slides stating the future is already here. It's just not very evenly distributed yet. And I think that this is very true when we think about in how different stages we are in different companies, even in different departments, different units in one company can be in a very different level. And here were some good examples that I would like to lift up. First of all, I was super impressed about the Case Ireland, the Cork County presentations. Not only due to the fact that they were one of the sponsors, which was very lovely, but it really made me an impression that they had really then the high-level executives over there. The whole Cork County had decided on that they are really now going to change their culture to become a service culture. So they had people from different levels all actually then approaching this thing, learning new skills, really then driving through. And I think that was really then, you could see that they had determined that they want to make a different future for their citizens. Very impressive. Then Fjord talked about many things, but I think one of the issues that struck me most was then this Lorna Rossi's themes about what is the new battleground for design. And she was talking about how all this social network, social media era where we are living, how that is actually then making people actually more skeptic. And in the future, we have to pay much more attention to how can we design for security, trust, identity, privacy, truth. And me coming from a big bank, of course, this is what we live from. I mean, this is super, super important. And how to then actually then make this so that people have a belief in everything what we do. That was a very, very good presentation. Then there was a very practical case from Adobe. They were presenting a concept which they had. They had established a system they called Hive. So it was like 1-week exercise where they could invite their people, and their people would learn about actually then how to design, solve different problems with design. And I thought that was also a very nice thing, how a company has actually then made possible for their employees to learn more about design. And last but not the least, it was also Lloyds Bank that had a very interesting presentation about how are they actually then starting to change the organizational culture by actually focusing on people and development of people. So these 4 I would very much recommend of having a deeper look into. Then to the second topic, and that was the do we see colliding approaches or strong capability building? And like a sub-question is that wouldn't it rather be smart actually then that instead of competing with different things, should we try to see that if we can master different techniques, so that would make us really strong. And here I'm talking about, for example, in my own environment, we have user experience designers, we have customer experience designers, we have service designers, we have design thinking people. Everybody, we have agile, we have lean, everything in the same company, and everybody is stating that, hey, my territory is then actually then the most important one. We are the best. This is the way how we should run. And when you look at it from the helicopter view, you understand that actually that's not the case, because then the case is that when you know what is the challenge that needs to be solved, actually you need all these different skills. You need different things when you are dealing with the front stage. You need different things when you are dealing with the backstage. And I think it would be a beauty to see that, to get all these different expertise people to work together and really find each other's value. There is a lot actually then to go for that. So all methods provide value, they just have a different intent. Again, 4 different lifts from presentations that were very valuable over there. Adidas had a very nice case where they were actually then together with the service design company Livework. They had combined agile and customer experience and produced an internal training program for their employees actually then to learn how to merge these 2 ideas. Then there were a couple of consultants. Zachary Paradis, he was talking about service design and project management, how you actually then combine these 2 things. Very valuable presentation worth looking into. And then there was a business guy from Verizon Connect. He was talking about how they implement actually lean and service design in their company. So there are some ideas of that as well. And then this Patrick Wattelbaum, he was talking about this competitive collaboration, and he had just a smart slide kit where he was showing like the map of Uganda with different kind of a tribe chiefs fighting with each other, and how then when there are new issues, how do you need to then find you a spot over there. So that's a very nice, funny looking material if you want to use that in your organizational battles, but also very, very strong, good message. And Patrick was also, well, actually, yeah, now I told you already what I was having on this slide. No matter, then the main message is that every tribe is part of the solution. Then if I move forward, so this is then the third topic, and personally I find this super important. And having been a judge in the Service Design Awards jury for several years, this is one of the issues where I pay a lot of attention to, because when there are different type of design ideas, different type of projects, I think the value comes when we can see that there are things that have been implemented. And what is actually then implementation? When we talk about innovation, what is an innovation? It really means that you have created an idea and you have launched an idea, but it becomes innovation only then when you have people using it and creating results. When the culture and way of working has changed, then it can be called innovation. The world is full of ideas, but if they only if we deliver them to an organization and say that, well, here is your idea product, and the organization is wondering what would we do? How could we implement this? We don't have hands for that. Then it's actually waste, because then it's soon forgotten. So that's why I find this super important topic. Concrete deliveries. And here I would very much recommend to have a look. This was one of the award winners, the Musgrave retail case that was done by Helen London office. Very... What?
I'm from Helen.
Okay. So I thought that over here it's very clear. There was a clear problem, a very simple solution, and also in the case that was described. So all the tools, all the methods, the whole process was extremely well documented. But the best was also, of course, because then there was a happy customer who had implemented the thing with good results. Another one that is worth mentioning is then Flor Smith's presentation. She talked about the culture, and there was already today previously mentioned the importance of getting to know the context, getting to know the culture. And I thought that she had some very valuable points over here, because when you as designers, when we internally, when we enter into something and we start thinking about that, how should we then make a design project? Actually, if we don't know the local culture, how these people have been doing this before, we can actually then stumble on a lot of stones. So this is very much worth paying attention to. Then another example was the story that Kerry Bodine talked about journey managers. So that's a new issue that she is starting to look into, doing more research on that. But there are several companies, especially in the banking sector in the UK, they have done a lot of effort into actually employing journey managers, making certain that actually things are implemented, that there is someone in the company who is looking the whole entire customer journey from the holistic perspective. And I thought that's a super interesting topic as well. And let's see, Kerry is probably going to then publish and tell more about this topic. Then I come to the last, so this is the fourth theme, this creative leadership. And this was actually something I was missing from the conference when we look at the big picture. So there is quite a little presentations, quite little stuff about this, that how are we actually then leading service design, how are we leading creative things, how are we actually then changing the culture in the organizations. So that is something that I would very much look forward to seeing in the future. There was one good one with a lot of slides. It was Lina Nilsson from Design It, and she was approaching this topic from a kind of a team level, but she had really good insight. So I enjoyed the presentation a lot. And then she had quoted then this Simon Sinek's statement: the responsibility of leadership is not to come up with all the ideas, but to create an environment in which great ideas can thrive. And I feel very strongly that this is something that in many companies we need to focus a lot more on. And this applies also, I think, also when we think about design organization and design managers. It is quite easy actually then to step into this functionalistic, very old-fashioned organization where you have a hierarchy, which is actually then kind of a... taking the breath from the creative leadership. So that's why I think this is super important topic. And also Stefan Moritz from Veriday, he had also very good speech about humanizing the future of work. And this was especially touching because then in this era when we talk a lot about digitalization, like for example in every company, so we still should remember that actually then we humans, we do have much more what actually then the artificial intelligence has. And that is why this has to be lifted up, so that in the companies we should move from silos and join forces together, and actually then start thinking about our people, our colleagues, so they are not resources. Everybody is a potential, and I think here lies a lot of wisdom. From jobs to life, and from fixed to fluid. I think those were very touchy issues for me. So that brings me to the end, and I would close by stating that think about what can you do in order to design your future. Thank you.